it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo, no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I love. I got a poker face, but honestly, I'm not one to bluff. I flip a switch, never miss, man, I always stay up. Don't let them see you, bitch, always have a plan to stay tough. This life ahead of you ain't easy, it was built to be rough. But that's what makes a personality, is tragedy, bruh. So keep your head on your shoulders. Now we ain't out here moving rocks, we out here moving boulders. Now we ain't getting posterized, we out here making posters. And we ain't got nothing to hide, we move forward like soldiers. You better wake up for the pay stub, or you'll pay up. Don't make love to the game, bruh, fuck the game up. Change up, rearrange stuff to your greatness. Famous for the way up, play the game, bruh.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top, yeah.
You know I'm always honest, there ain't no way I'll never stop it.
I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top, yeah.
What is good, everybody? It's your boy, Reckless Ray Dinero, and we are back at it again with another episode of Future Financial Strategies. And it's me, Reckless Ray Dinero, tapping in with you on June 15th. Whoo! It's been a crazy weekend. I hope that those of you survived the previous Bag Fortification Friday. I hope you are preparing to go into the next Bag Fortification Friday. I hope you're ready to make some good financial decisions. So those are the decisions we need to be making. It's more important than ever now. The title of this video is Group Economics. It's a carryover from last week, and I wanted to broach on it specifically because there is one specific form of group economics that we could touch on as a strategy, because it's a strategy that I use, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, we should touch on that. And we're gonna start with the reason that I think this strategy is important. But before that, I'd like to say to all the Dinero dogs out there, everyone who's in the family, thank you. First and foremost, definitely like, share, and subscribe. We're not trying to share these options over here by ourselves in an echo chamber. We're trying to help as many people as possible that are looking to move forward in the way that we're looking to move forward. So let's jump into it. This video could be long, could be short, could be my average. We'll see. Only time will tell. We'll jump into this. Let's see what the first thing we got here. The average rent in the U.S., $1,702 for 897 square feet. Ouch. Ouch. That's a lot of money and not a lot of space. That is wild. And I mean, obviously this is probably taking into account some of the worst places to rent ever. Actually, Jesus, now I have to see what the average rent in my city is to see how that stacks up. Let's do this check really quick. Oh, okay, there we go. So, oof. So my city specifically, this isn't the U.S. average, which is $1,702 for 897 square feet. The average rent in my city here locally is $1,220 for 898 square feet. So you get one more square feet, and we're about $500 under the average here. And this is still disgustingly expensive. Like that is wild to me. Wild. They're attacking we're being attacked on so many fronts here, and from the financial perspective, that this is crazy. Like, I don't normally look at these numbers because I don't rent, so this doesn't affect me personally. But now I'm starting to understand some of the pressure and some of the stress, some of the tension that you're seeing being felt by people. And this brings me to, because I mean, at these types of rental rates, it's like, who's living by themselves at this point? Like, you can't even live by yourself. You guys are grouping up to rent. You're living with your homies, which is cool. I'm an advocate for that. That's how I segued into my house. Was I lived with my friends. We had an intent. We were not paying anywhere close to this amount for rent. We were paying, Jesus, like, actually, we were paying less than half of this for rent, and we split it between 3 people so that we could save up to buy property. And here we are now, probably about, I'd say like 6 years later. And I mean, even for the average, we were paying about 50% of what the average rent is right now. So in about 6 years in my city, people are paying on average 50% more than what we were paying when we originally got. I mean, they're paying more. I mean, the average rent right now is more than my mortgage payment. I mean, things are getting bad. Things are getting bad. I mean, I know everybody's making 6 figures on YouTube and everybody's doing everything all at once, but I mean, if y'all paying $1,700 for rent, just to rent, like, that's not a house. That's to put money in somebody else's pocket, man. I feel for you. Like, it's going to be tough out here to be making these moves. I'm questioning how people are surviving. I'm gonna have to raise my numbers, because like I was an advocate of, if you were making 50,000, you should be able to figure this out. And now I'm like, man, Jesus, like, Anton might be right, man. You might need to make 6 figures, bro. Like, this is gross. Like, if you're living in a city where the average rent's $1,700, you need to move if you ain't making it, man. Like, this is wild. I mean, $1,200 here in my city. I hadn't looked at the average rents. Good God, it's awesome to live in my house, man. Nobody in my house is paying close to this shit. This is ridiculous. Like, I'm getting sticker shock about rent now. This is crazy. It's crazy what's going on out here. And I don't know. I don't even know what to say about it, but let's dive into it, because like, at these rents, it's not surprising. I mean, if you're trying to be strong and independent out here, paying $1,700 in rent for 897 square feet and just eating it yourself, you know, like, more power to you. I don't know how you getting through. I really don't. It don't make sense to me. Get a roommate. Jesus, for the love of God, get somebody to help you with this, because that's a hefty payment for not even a house. Like, that's just to live at somebody else's property. I don't know how people are eating this to the face. Like, that's crazy. Plus, you got to have first and last month's rent. Like, that's like $3,400. Oof. To get in the door to live there, and you ain't getting that deposit back. Probably they're probably keeping that deposit, man. Oof, this is bad. It's bad out here in these streets. So the strategy that we're gonna look into here is a strategy that people call house hacking, and I'm gonna go ahead and share this tab and read to you the directions, or the definition, not the directions. House hacking means finding ways to generate income from your home. Traditionally, house hacking meant buying a multifamily property, living in one unit, and renting out the other so that the tenants pay the owner's mortgage, and the owner builds equity while maintaining the property. Now, moving forward, the definition that I was brought into and I didn't come in on the traditional side of this, was just renting a place or buying a place, and then you rent out the rooms. So like you just have roommates that live with you, just like what you do. So the original deal that me and my original roommates had way back when was we found a spot with a rent that was $650. Now it was we moved. We were the first people who were moving into an area that they were actively gentrifying. So when we moved in, the rents were low, and we lived there. It was a good space, really awesome, lot of space, good atmosphere. Not good insulation during the winters, but the size of the place, the space, it was very spacious. It was great. It was a great bachelor pad. And we rocked out in there I was there for 6 years. I think the other primary roommate that we started that project with was there for, I was there for 6. I think he was there for 4 of them. And then he saved up enough money to get into a position to rent to own another place in an area that he wanted to be in to be closer to his kids. So he moved forward with that part of his plan, and I continued rocking it out. We got another new roommate, and then, went through some, like you do, some drama. One of the roommates that originally started that plan with us did not make it to fruition of that plan. But we kept rocking it out. And then at the beginning of the pandemic, I saw the writing on the wall. They were getting ready to jack our rent up really high. They were doing some work to the building. They were doing work to all the other units but ours. And, a management company bought it out. We had originally bought it from a person who we knew that lived down the street. We not bought it, rented it. But they switched it over to a management company. The management company came in hot and heavy, thought that they were going to bully around the tenants, thought that they could talk to us any which way, which during the time, I knew for a fact that I was the only person paying rent in that house, so we always paid early, and usually we were ahead on our payments. So I just wasn't really feeling it. So I immediately started looking for places because I was on a month to month. They tried to bully me into thinking that I was under a contract, and then when I, wanted to go ahead and get a lawyer involved or at least see the contract, their whole tune changed. So I went ahead and bought a place because I was like, the only way that we were going to control what the rent was if one of us owned the property that we were renting in. So I bit the bullet. I was the only person who was financially in a position to purchase anything at that point in time. So, we've been rocking out ever since. We are not anywhere close to the fucking average for our city. We are astronomically lower than the average for the nation. These numbers are wild, but I'm also not doing this to get over on my roommates. I'm trying to set them up for success as well, because they too are going to want to, hopefully at some point, make moves. And, I'd be telling them, like, obviously, this is the general premise of house hacking still stands, but now you're in a situation where you have to. And if you're going to have roommates to cover a rent, then in my opinion, it just makes sense that one of you would go ahead and get a property so that there can be some equity built to somebody that because at this point, at least in my city with what happened during the pandemic, most of these apartment complexes are owned by management companies and conglomerates, and they're going to raise your rent anywhere from $50 to $500 every year, depending on how they feel or what the mortgage markets are doing. And, they're going to put you in a position to where you're sitting here looking at, $1,700 a month to pay that rent. And I mean, like, if you want to do the math on this, like $1,700 a month, you times that by 12, you're talking about that's $20,000 a year. So I mean, dang, it's $20,400 a year. if you're paying $1,700 in rent. It's $20,000 that just goes into a vaporous black hole that doesn't mean anything. But your gurus are out here telling you shouldn't own a house, but you should pay $1,200, $1,700 a year for. I mean, let's just do the math. Let's just do the math for my city. Hold on, 1220 times 12. That's $14,000 a year. $14,640 a year to be exact. I mean, that's better than $1,700 a month, which equates to $20,000 a year. But geez, that's still a grip of money. That's still a grip of money, man. To not be building equity or anything, to not have a plan. I don't know. I think the gurus might be wrong with these rent rates. If these are the averages, man, like, that means if you want a rent that's a decent price rent, you're living in abject poverty. Ugh, that's ugly. So now you're in a situation where you're going to have roommates anyway, which means that like your financial affairs should be in order to where one of you can get a house. So that way you can build equity. So that way you can have control. Because, I mean, generally speaking, if you're living with your friends, they're not taxing you on rent every single year. They're not raising your rent every year. It's one of the perks of not dealing with people. I mean, apparently if you landlording right, like Anton Daniels, he said he don't raise the rent, period. He sets it and he doesn't raise it till the next tenant moves in, which is dope. Like, that's cool. But unfortunately, like, if you're in there with these management companies, like, they're part of conglomerates. They have shareholders like myself that they have to answer to, and we want our money. We want our dividend payments. We want them every month. They're going to raise your rent every year because you got to keep the growth going. I mean, I even adding $50 to $1,700 a month every year. That, I mean, let's talk about it. So if we're looking at $1,700 a month, okay, so this hypothetical, this is $2 less than the average, and you multiply that times 12, that's $20,400 a year for that one unit. Okay, so now say we made it $1,750. Now that is an additional $600 per year. Now we're up to $21,000. We buying entry level vehicles at this point, folks. like we buying vehicles. Like you bought a vehicle and like built no equity. You have no way to leverage that rental unit. That's somebody else's. They get to dictate how you move. Like, even if you sublet it or you're Airbnb and trying to Airbnb it out, they find out they're going to kick you out. Now you got to start this whole process over again. You got to find another place to live. And hopefully it's not with that same management company, because most of these places don't just own one property. You get blacklisted once, you could be blacklisted out of pretty much most of the properties in a city. The stuff they don't tell you about. Like, yeah, you can think you can make some moves under the table, but if you get caught, now you can't stay at any of the properties managed by that management company. And if they're the big one in the city, then that might be all the good ones. Something to think about. Also, on the back end, these management companies talk, so you might actually be on a list with all the management companies. Now you just can't rent nowhere. Another thing or two to think about. That's wild. It's crazy. So that's something to sit on there. That's a lot of money. So now we're sitting here in a space to where if you're going to have roommates, now you should consider whether one of you should be in a position to purchase a home. If you should, see if you can make those numbers work, because at this point, I mean, you probably need to start looking at these rental rates. I mean, they're going up everywhere. So like the 1,200, I can believe that, because I'm seeing people who are having to re-sign their contracts, and yeah, prices are up. So something strategic to think about. The house hacking, there's definitely a lot of really good stuff. Actually, while we're sitting here on the topic, let me go ahead and give my homies a shout out here. The homie Scott Trench. Okay. Now he has a book. Unfortunately, it only comes in paperback, which is, oh no, they have hardcover. Okay, good. So I'm going to share this tab with you guys. So this book right here dives into, it's a really good introductory book. I consider this my replacement in the modern and future financial strategies library of books. This is the replacement for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is now archaic and doesn't necessarily work. I mean, in concept, sure, like some of the principles, they're debatable, but overall, the mentality and the path that it sets you on, it's very nebulous, which is done for a reason. When you're a guru, everything has to be nebulous. Set for Life has actual actionable items for the specific strategy of house hacking. It has a bunch of other things, but I really like it because of the angle that it takes. I honestly think that this was ahead of its time, but now that people are going to be having to live together anyway, like you ain't going to be living by yourself at this point, not moving forward unless you just up to your eyeballs in debt. Like at $1,200 to $1,700 a month in rent, just for the rent, I understand how people are financing their lifestyles. Like now it's starting to make sense to me. If they've been jacking the rates up like this, that's ugly. And I don't see them going down. Like they're not going to go down. So something, if you're looking for that, Bigger Pockets also has like a whole bunch of resources on house hacking as well. I'd be willing to, like, I mean, we can talk about it on Guns and Butter because there's going to be a continuation of the conversation we had last week because like we broached some topics, but it ended up getting really late. We had complications, KCMO specifically, and then Google Fiber secondarily. So we had complications that night. The whole internet ended up going down after the stream was accidentally shut down abruptly. But we're gonna continue talking about it. I mean, this is definitely going to be a panel topic for this week. Like this is insane, and I didn't realize it was this bad. So yeah, we're gonna definitely be diving into that. So definitely tap in with us over on Guns and Butter this evening if you are up for having a live discussion. Definitely talk from the chat. We are very, very attentive to our chat over there. We are one of the people, that panel and that show specifically, I set it up. We do look at the chat. We be in the chat with you. So tap in with us because we're gonna continue this conversation. But I wanted to go ahead and bring it up and show the strategy and throw some ideas out there for people, because if with rents this high, you're gonna have to have roommates, and if you're gonna have roommates, y'all should be building something. Even if it's at least one person, at least the money's going to somebody that exists, and they're not going to be hopefully raising your rent every year. They're not going to raise unless you absolutely have to. But I mean, if you set this up right, it should be in a situation where you only have to do it every few years. I mean, it's not to say that prices don't go up, but every year, I mean, just like you're a piece of meat and they just don't want you to do better and there's no plan, and that don't sit well with me. I don't like it. So with that said, I'm going to tap out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit me up in the comments. Are y'all really paying $1,700 for rent? I need to know, because that's crazy to me. I need to know. Let's talk about it. So hit me in the comments. Let me know what you guys are paying for rent if you're renting, or do you own? I want to know that too. Yeah, let's have the conversation down in the comments. Also, remember, tap in with us over on Guns and Butter tonight, because we're going to be talking about this tonight. We're going in deep. Let's go. It's your boy Reckless Ray Dinero, and I am tapping out.
Let's go. Let's go. I pull up. Let's go.